Hello once again and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you're seeing and if you want to see more. Coming up in this episode, we have two NRL games results and scorers as we see the Sharks face the Melbourne Storm and the Newcastle Knights face the Rabbitohs. We also have Walsh's confirmed future and Bradford confirm new head coach. So we'll begin today's episode with two games from the NRL, as Thursday and Friday had one game apiece, and so does Saturday and Sunday, as the NRL catches up from its state of origin schedule, shall we put it that way. Those two games were Cronulla Sharks hosted the Melbourne Storm on Thursday, while the Newcastle Knights had the Rabbitohs coming in with Latrell Mitchell coming back into the squad and form. The game between the Storms and the Sharks has been built up quite a rivalry in the recent years, and there's plenty to play for in the opening round of round 17. Melbourne sits second, but have slipped 6 points away from tearaway leaders Penrith, while the Sharks have nestled in fourth as they head into a grueling month of footy matches against the Storm tonight. Well, yesterday, the Cowboys, Panthers and the Rabbitohs. The first task at hand for Craig Fitzgibbon's men is to take care of business against the Storm outfit, desperate to hit back after they were uncharacteristically sloppy against Manly in their loss, but needing to do it without Origin stars Cameron Munster and Harry Grant, as well as Felice Kafusi, who is on family leave in the USA. One of the Storm's great strengths under Bellamy has been to rebound after a loss and to get the job done regardless of who pulls on the jumper, but they still face a stiff test at the Sharks' homes patch in front of a parochial crowd. Now on to the teams, with Nico Hines and Toby Rudolph out of the game due to COVID protocols and returning positive COVID tests. There have been no further late changes to the Sharks. Braden Trindle comes into the side at halfback and Andrew Fafita at prop. The new man on the bench is Braden Hamil-Ueli, who makes his return from a pectoral injury that has sidelined him since round 6. The visitors remain 1-7 with no late changes. Dina Eremaya comes in on the wing and Nick Meaney moves to the 5'8", with Jaden Nikorima dropping to the 18th man. Brandon Smith will start at hooker with Harry Grant on Maroon's origin duty, while Josh King is the new lock, and Nelson Asafa Solomona will start at prop, with Tui Kamikamacha going to the bench. Taylor Wishart and Jordan Grant are the new faces on the bench alongside Alec McDonald and Kamikamacha. And the Storm were outmatched yet again without their origin contingent as the Sharks came out 28 points to 6 victors in the end. All the hard work was done in the first half for the Sharks as they led to 20 points to 0 at half time. Jesse Romain, Blake Briley, Ronaldo Molitalo and Romain again all went over before half time, while Braden Trindle converted 2 of the tries, the Brayley and Molitalo tries. It was a couple of sin-bins that changed the game a little bit more as Brandon Smith headed to the bin on the 59th minute, and Sione Katoa and Jesse Romain went over to extend the lead to 26-0. It was a sin-bin for Andrew Fafita, which saw Alec McDonald go over for a try, with Nick Meaney converting the resultant score. And that meant that the final score went the Sharks' way, 28 points to 6. Friday's game saw the Rabbitohs travel to Newcastle as the McDonald Jones Stadium hosted Newcastle versus South Sydney. The Knights remain a rough chance of forcing their way into the finals given their friendly run home, but they face stiff competition against a Latrell Mitchell's inspired Bunnies on Friday. In the final 9 rounds of the season, the Knights face only 2 sides currently inside the top 8, so there's good reason for optimism, but on the back of Friday's drubbing of the Titans. One of those sides in the last 8 is South, who head to Newcastle full of confidence after Mitchell's impressive return to the team last week in the win over the Eels. And both sides are missing key men though on Origin duty, but there's enough quality on show to suggest this will be a cracking contest in front of a big crowd in the Knights' homeland. So in the team news, Jacob Safiti is a late withdrawal following Jordan McLean's injury in the Blues camp, with Pasami Saulo to come off the bench. There are no other changes 24 hours before the kickoff. Jaden Briley is set to return from a long-term Achilles injury layoff on the bench, with Bradman Best playing in his return from an elbow injury. He will replace Dane Gagai, who is away on Origin duty in the centres. Texoy will again wear the number 1 jersey in place of Kalen Ponga, who again has Origin duty. And we look at the Rabbitohs with Martin Nichols out with a head knock, replaced by Davy Moale even, at lock. Latrell Mitchell will captain the Rabbitohs for the first time with Cameron Murray on Origin duty. New signing Daniel Saluka Fafita, who joined the club on Monday after he was granted an early release by the Roosters, comes onto the bench. And it was a victory for the South Sydney Rabbitohs as the full-time whistle went on a 40-28 victory, which ended in a bit of a tussle and also a player being sent off. The game started with Souths going in with Cody Walker scoring on the 9th minute, followed up by Dominic Young and David Clemmer going over for tries for the Knights as they went in for the lead. Bradman Best came back from a dislocated elbow to score the 3rd try for the Knights as they extended their lead. But Souths came back strong at the end of the half from 2 tries from Richard Kenner and Cody Walker. After half-time, Richard Kenner scored his hat-trick try and Tavita Tatiola scored on the 52nd minute. Edric Lee scored once more for the Knights, and Mitchell Barnett finished off the Knights scoring after Jackson Paulo went over for the South 7th try. Latrell Mitchell kicked 5 from 7 and a penalty goal, and Anthony Milford converted 4 from the 5 attempts that he had. David Clemmer, who had been involved in an attempted fisticuffs with Tatiola earlier on in the game, ended the game with the marching orders after he was accused of making contact with a Souths player's head in the tackle. If it is confirmed, he'll face a number of weeks ban for that incident. But Souths came away with a win, 40-28. We stay with the NRL, this time with the New Zealand Warriors, as Brisbane have been reportedly successful in their pursuit of Reece Walsh, and he has signed on for the next 3 years from 2023 after securing his release from the Warriors. Again, according to reports, Walsh recently split up with the mother of his child and approached the Warriors roughly 6 weeks ago to raise concerns about relocating from Queensland to Auckland when the team returns to its New Zealand base next season. The Warriors told Walsh that they could only approve his release if they found a replacement fullback for 2023, and only if he were to sign with Brisbane, the closest club to his family members. When the Warriors signed Canberra's Shanzi Nicol-Klokstad for 2023, Walsh, a Bronco Jr., was permitted to sign with the Broncos. The Warriors will retain Walsh for the remainder of 2022, while they continue to base themselves in Redcliffe and fly to Auckland for home games. Reese's return is great news for everyone at the Broncos and for all our supporters and members. We'll get him back home next year, said Brisbane coach Kevin Walters. He's a terrific young footballer and someone who has always belonged in Brisbane, so it's fantastic that he is coming back. Reece came through the Broncos system from a young age, and the club has always considered him one of our most promising talents. He returns to us with some great NRL experience under his belt and rejoins the club at a time where we're forging something special. A number of other emerging players who've come through the Broncos system have also committed long term to the club in recent times, and it's great that Reece has chosen to do the same. Ryan James said the Broncos playing group is enthusiastic about the Reece Walsh signing, which he considers further proof of the club's roster resurgence. The Broncos have drawn criticism in recent times for struggling to hold on to high-profile young prospects, losing the likes of Walsh, Sam Walker, David Fafita and Tom Dearden, all of whom were Brisbane juniors who flourished after defecting to rival clubs after 2019. Brisbane are now in the midst of their most promising season since then, thanks in no small part in the astute recruitment of senior players like Adam Reynolds and Kurt Capewell. The Broncos have also re-signed elite local talents Selwyn Cobbo and Patrick Carrigan, and Ryan James said, "They're starting to build a really good looking roster for next year. If you're a Broncos fan, you should be excited. We know how good a talent Walsh is. He's a young fella, and he just adds to the depth of the squad. He's a great player." The second story is that the New Zealand Warriors have reportedly secured their new head coach, with Penrith Panthers assistant Andrew Webster to land his first full-time gig. While all the speculation regarding coaches at the foot of the mountain has regarded the future of Cameron Ciraldo, it appears that Webster has been the first to be poached. It emerged just 2 days ago that both West Tigers and New Zealand Warriors were both keen on Webster, who has a long history in coaching and previously worked for both clubs. The move for Webster came after the New Zealand Warriors were turned down by Christian Wolff, who decided he only wanted to move back to Australia if he leaves St Helens at the end of the 2022 English Super League campaign, while Tigers were chasing Ciraldo, but he has also turned down the club offer. 3 NRL clubs, the Warriors, the Tigers and the Bulldogs, are on the lookout for new coaches, while Gold Coast Titans are reportedly weighing up the options of sharpening the axe on Justin Goldbrook. According to the Daily Telegraph, however, the first slot is being taken, with Nathan Brown's successor being appointed. The 40-year-old will fit the Warriors' push for an emerging club. He has coached 2 games at ANRL level before as an interim coach for the Tigers after Jason Taylor was sacked in 2017. Webster, who began his coaching journey in America and then in England, returned to Australia for good in 2012, coming through the Tigers pathway and leading the Tigers to SG World Cup team to the national title. He then moved to the Eels before coaching the Tigers under-20s team in 2014. It was then off to the Warriors, where he worked as an assistant under coach Andrew McFadden for 2 years. It is understood the Panthers will have no hesitation releasing Webster for a full-time NRL gig, despite having a year to run on his current contract. He is credited with Penrith's attack, but his close ties to the Warriors have reportedly made him an ideal candidate for the club, who will move permanently back to Auckland in 2023 after 2 years on the road. Stacey Jones, who has been serving as interim coach, is likely to be retained in an assistant role, with Warriors CEO Cameron George confirming the club are close to making a decision on their new head coach. And finally today, Championship club Bradford Bulls have appointed Mark Dunning today as their new permanent head coach, and a deal until the end of the season. And it will be helped out by none other but Brian Noble. Dunning took charge of the club in interim basis for the last 8 games after stepping up from assistant to John Keir, who left in April. He has overseen the last 8 games, winning 5 of them, although the Bulls were thrashed 56 points to 6 by Lee on Sunday. Bulls legend and former Great Britain coach Noble is coming back to the club on an informal consultancy basis. As part of these announcements, Chief Executive Jason Hurst said, "I'm delighted to announce Mark Dunning as the Bradford Bulls' new permanent head coach with immediate effect on the contract until November 2023. As part of our rigorous selection process, Mark, as a standout candidate, beat several other high-quality applicants to land this prestigious role. The appointment of the 2 knowledgeable, high-skilled and proud Bradfordians allows us to continue to strategically plan and progress our recruitment plan for the 2023 season." Going back to that middle paragraph, "I am also delighted to announce that the club and former Great Britain coach Brian Noble will be returning to the club on an informal consultancy basis to support Mark and his staff as we look to finish the season strongly and secure a playoff place." Dunning himself went on to say, "I'm absolutely delighted, honoured and humbled to be offered the opportunity to continue leading the performance department of this prestigious club. I want to thank the board of directors for this opportunity, the staff and the players who have been very receptive and supporting of me since taking over in an interim basis, and also my family and friends who supported me whose support has been and will continue to be invaluable. The hard work continues from here, and there's lots to do if we are to achieve our goal for everyone here at the club, which is to earn our right to compete at the top end of the sport. I'm looking forward to sitting down with the players and the staff, some of whom have gone above and beyond in recent weeks, continuing to create a positive and challenging culture and an environment which allows our players of all ages to develop, grow and flourish. The help of Brian in his consultancy role will be very important to everyone at the club, both on and off the field, and is an exciting addition to the club." Mark has been part of the coaching fabric in Bradford Bulls for almost 10 years now, as he started off with the club in 2012 as the scholarship coach before moving on to the under-19s assistant coach, then became the head of the under-16s head coach, and once again moved up the ranks in October 2019 when he became the reserves head coach, with bits and pieces of his time being the assistant first team coach. Since his interim status, John Keir leaving, he has now been appointed the full-time head coach and has 18 months to see what he can do to get Bradford, a big club, into a position they feel they belong. And that's it for another episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe and share this video worldwide as we look to grow the sport. Also click that notification bell for any new videos or updates that may be coming your way. Tell me what your thoughts are of today's episode. 2 NRL games? Do you think the Melbourne Storm was going to lose like that? It's been a tough one, that one, I bet, for them to see. What about New Zealand Warriors? Walsh is going and Webster is in as their head coach. Well, that's what the rumours are. Do you think that's the right appointment for you New Zealand fans? Or do you think that, like most of the press around, it's a club going nowhere with these appointments? Totally up to you. I think it's an appointment done on the cheap rather than spending big and going after someone. Anyway, I digress. Bradford fans, are you happy with interim coach being appointed full-time coach? Or do you think that the addition to Brian Noble coming in was the overriding factor for his appointment? Tell me in the comments below what your thoughts are. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to share this video worldwide. And I wish you in the meantime all the best. So please stay safe, and I'll see you in the next episode.